Hey, my boos. My name is Chris Farah. Welcome back to Vanity Fair, where today we are talking 90 Day Single Life. It's season 5, it's episode 11, The Art of Dragging, even though it should just be drag. But let's get into it. Okay, we are going to pick up on Gino. Now, when Gino's segment starts, they give us some weird, like AI music that is absolutely the Jacksons blame it on the boogie, but a different version of it. Okay. And you know what I'm talking about if you listen to it. They're like, something, something, moonlight. And we're like, okay, that sounds familiar. But then it's like, no, it's not that song. It's another song. I'm going to just say this. What AI is doing with music is absolutely criminal. Not to bring up another Michael Jackson song, but straight up, like, that's Paula Abdul. Uh, sorry to make light of it. It's just actually really, really horrifying. I just saw this lovely bluegrass lady who basically said that all of her like YouTube videos were fed into an AI algorithm who made music upon it and then put out copy claims to her own music on YouTube. And YouTube has, I guess, a non-human reviewer, and so she doesn't have monetization. So I'm just going to say this. Make sure wherever you're listening to music that it's not fucking AI, and don't support that shit, because you are taking money away from what is actually great artists. Okay, Gino, talking about an artist. Okay, Gino, it's the morning after the strip club, and he is just so happy. He's like, the sex was great. We're like, already? Well, let's ask Natalie, because, those are always going to be differing opinions. Natalie's like, yep, you were just a wild and crazy guy last night. Ha ha ha. She didn't actually say the reference I did because that would have been funny. She just said whatever she said. Now, they are staying in West Hollywood, and now I know that, and I feel like I drive past that building with the red door all the time. I'm so mad. And they're going to go to meet up with her family, which is her brother, twin brother Nick, and her daughter Isabella. And for some reason, it's a surprise to Gino. He doesn't know where he's going, which we'll figure that out later. But the reservation's already happening, so they're going to walk there. So we're like, oh my god, you're walking to West Hollywood. You must be very close. They walk by Arden. I'm like, oh my god, and it ends up being Hamburger Mary's. So Hamburger Mary's is a longtime institution of like drag brunch and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so close to me. Please don't be so close to me. So Nick is there. Now Nick is like, I have a beautiful sister. She's just so beautiful. Da, 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 da. And you can tell Nick hates Gino. And also everyone keeps talking about how Natalie's love life is a fucking shit show. And she's a seasoned woman. So it must be awkward to have everyone in your life be like, you make horrible choices and you continue to do so. We don't trust you to make a good choice. Because she's old. She's old. She's what, 50 something? I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but at some point it's like you do have to try to do better in the areas that you have always done shitty in, and that it affects other people in your life, and they're telling you how shitty it is. Like, I mean, right? I mean, I don't mean to be mean about this, but it's like at some point, whose fault is this? So basically, for some reason, Natalie doesn't know that Isabella's not going to show up, which is weird because that's your daughter, and your daughter hates Gino and has made that fucking perfectly clear. And so I don't understand why Natalie thinks that she's going to torture her daughter by being with shitty man that is dating her mom, and she's seen that over and over again. To me, it just doesn't. I mean, I really have lost her. I've been losing respect for Natalie like the whole time, and I think that's the point of like Isabella. She's like, I cannot believe I have to watch you make a fucking fool of yourself on TV. I cannot believe that you are going on to be humiliated after what he has done to you. I cannot believe it. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she has some sort of humiliation fetish. I mean, it's really shameful, especially if you're like raising a daughter. I'm like, my God. So before they leave though, I just noticed, do you guys notice that Gino, it was like mic'd up in his bathrobe? I was like, ugh, anyway, God bless. So they go to Hamburger Mary's. Obviously, Isabel won't be there at all. And Nick has to be like, yeah, she's not coming because she does not like you, Gino. And Gino's like, what? Weird. And Nick's like, well, have you filed for divorce yet from Jasmine? Gino never answers that question. Gino says you don't have to worry about Jasmine anymore. Bitch, that's not the fucking question I asked you. And then the brother has to look at his sister and be like, your daughter comes first. Which, if she has to be reminded about that, who the fuck is she as a mother? What? You know, it's interesting because I don't ever want to see young kids on this show, but when you see adults that are the children of subjects on the show, you can really like lean into how they've been treated. Like, I don't think Faith has been treated well by Lisa. And I know that there is like issues with Jamal and Kimberly because she lied to him or whatnot. But like Kimberly and Jamal's relationship is pretty fucking solid to me. I mean, from what I see. Okay, it's quite different from, let's just say, Isabella's and Natalie's. It just really feels like Isabella's like a young girl of a generation that is like known to speak up for themselves, that's not going to fucking tolerate things that like older generations did. And she truly feels what reads is a wild embarrassment that her mother is the way she is. And I feel bad for her. And Gino like doesn't understand it and is like, well, it's not fair. She doesn't know me. And it's like, oh no, she just watched what happened, asshole. She watched how you behaved. That's how she made her decision. She does know you. If you're going to allow that, it's hard. It's like behavior is sometimes all one has because words are lies, can be lies. Words can be lies. Behavior, maybe in the beginning, can be lies, but then it's difficult to keep up a behavior that is not truthful for an extended period of time. And that's why I guess when I was talking in before the 90 days about like how goodbye texts happen and then they filter off, it's because it's hard to keep up the behavior that I care for you every day if it's not true. If someone doesn't care how you are doing or doesn't care how your day went or doesn't ask you questions about those things, you know, it's indicative of not caring. Now, you might corner that person and be like, you don't love me anymore. And that person might be like, yeah, I totally do. I've just been busy. All right. Lie. Behavior works better. So anyway, we're supposed to believe now that Natalie is like, I'm going to not stay here. I got to go take my stuff and make sure my daughter's okay. She ends up calling her daughter, who's like, Mom, you are embarrassing. And I'm not going to say anything mean, but at the same time, I fucking won't stand for this. Get off the phone, you know? And then she has to go like off camera and be like, are you okay to your daughter? When it's like, no. Gino's like, well, I hope to see you again. And Natalie's like, uh-huh. It's really difficult for some men like Javon, you know, Rick, fucking Gino, Colt. I can't tell how much they know how bad they are to women, how much they don't care, and how much they want to change. Like, Gino doesn't realize it. Colt knows he's shitty to women. He just doesn't want to change. Rick knows he's shitty to women. He doesn't want to change. Gino just feels always like he's playing the victim. Anyway, let's move on to Courtney. So they're shopping at a restaurant. Courtney and her parents are shopping, grocery shopping. First thing she does when she gets in that shopping plate is putting a bottle of what looks like champagne in the cart. Her mom's like, we're on a diet. I'm like, ugh, no. Her mom's like, I'm going to make cabbage rolls. Now, her mom is super sweet, but she raw dogs a whole big ass head of cabbage right in the cart. Like, are you going to get a little like plastic wrap around that cabbage? You can't just like put a whole cabbage thing into a cart like that. Like, either have your own, you know, little container for the cabbage, but just to put cabbage on top of like the metal seat that a baby sometimes sits on with their stupid ass diapers at the Kroger's, like, at the same time, I do like cabbage rolls. And it's interesting, cabbage rolls are in so many cuisines. Like, cabbage rolls has a whole thing, right? And like Eastern European cuisine. Like, I know like a lot of Polish peeps like cabbage rolls and stuff like that. In Lebanese or Levantine cuisine, cabbage rolls, a whole ass thing, very much exists there. We like to stuff a lot of things, you know. Anyway, so in this conversation, though, Courtney's like, yeah, Colt went right from us to Brazil to be with Diana. And now he's coming back because his ligaments have died in his leg. And now he's going to get another surgery and they'll take his insurance here. And I'm going to pick him up from the airport and like set him up at the hotel. And her mom is like, what the fuck are you going to do? But they're so nice that they're like, well, he's not going to stay here. I don't know why you do that. It's interesting because her parents are so sweet, so kind, so sweet, right? In a world that Courtney was my daughter, in a world that Courtney was a good friend of mine, I would have had a panic attack. I would have had I would not have been able to keep my opinion to myself. I'd be like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Over my fucking dead body. Are you going to go pick him up from the airport? No, you're not. No. Let him get someone else. Let him understand that no one wants him in America, that he's fucked up everything. Why? Why would you do that? Why don't you have other things to do? No, Courtney, no. I would just sedate her the day it comes, honey. I don't know what to tell you. I would just like lock her up, honey. And I would just be like, no, bitch, we're going to watch Devil Wears Prada 2 instead. Like, I don't care what you think you're doing. You're definitely not shaming yourself and like, going back on the choices you've made. It's like kind of like Trish showing up at the airport with Rick. It's like, if I was friends with Trish, I would have never let it happen. Courtney looks so cute in her glasses, right? I'm so mad that she's going to go pick him up. So basically, also, yeah, like in the next episode, she's like, well, did you have sex with Diana? And he's like, yep. And she's like, well, I'm glad it worked, with her. And it's like, what? To ask him that question means that you are like fishing for something. I mean, she's like fishing, I don't know, just to be like, to have further validation that he knows that he fucked up, or the kind of sorrow that would somehow make her okay with forgiving him. I don't know why, but it's like there is no good reason for you to waste your time on this man. She's like, I just feel so sorry for him. He might lose his leg. And I'm kind of like, well, shittier things have happened to nicer people. I don't want anyone to lose their leg, but like if you're going to like fuck over my life, if you're going to cheat on me and fuck over my life after I've been really nice to you, oops. Oops, that leg doesn't work anymore. No. Again, I don't want it for someone, but at the same time, she's not responsible for him. I don't know why she thinks she is. I don't know if it's like, I was there for Hunt for Love. He left out of my hotel room. It was raining. He slipped. Yeah, bitch, he slipped. He doesn't have good balance. That's not you. You have to make sure you don't slip mentally. All right, moving on. Kimberly. Kimberly, honey, is Christmas decorating. She's Christmas decorating with Jamal. There's like an old candy in one of the stockings. Wait 1 second. Yay. And he eats it. She's like, I don't know if I would have done that. She's like, decorating used to be the thing I did with my mom and my sister. And now that they're gone, it's a thing I do with you. And I would like to have Larry be a part of it, as like a tradition. So they FaceTime Larry, and that's nice. It does feel like a lot of people decorate for Christmas, and that's like a traditional thing. It's funny to me. It's like, oh, you think this is like a special traditional family thing that only you guys have? Okay. And now she tells them she's going to go to the UK, God bless, but it's perfect timing for Jamal to be like, maybe I should go, I don't know why I give him that accent. He doesn't have an accent, but it's like, that's what the storyline the producers want now, is for Jamal and her to go to the UK together. The other thing that happens in this is that she had gotten a letter from the adoption agency from her daughter. And basically, this letter was written by the adopted mother, 6 years or so after they adopted Kimberly's daughter, who they will be referenced as R in this letter. And Kimberly decides to read it. And I mean, at first she decides to read it, but she really can't. So she like hands it over to Jamal and he reads it. And it's just, it's a beautiful letter about how R is incredibly verbal. And she's like, that comes after me. And we're like, okay. Or like, you know, what had happened in the first, you know, 2 years of this baby's life outside of you, which was that their adoptive parents read, sang to them, did all those things. And we find out that R is going to a private school and their parents are like, we're going to try and keep her in private school as long as we can afford it. R loves pasta. She also is a very good veggie eater and she likes to go outside and pick veggies in her garden. And Jamal's like, oh, wow, sounds like a nice life, you know? And Kimberly is really at peace with this. I think that because Kimberly, I think that they sometimes show Kimberly living like in a mobile home park in San Diego. And so I think there's a part of Kimberly that like reads this and then sort of like fantasizes that R is being like raised by like people that are more economically sound than her and therefore can give, I guess, and not just because she wasn't economically sound, she was also in the army, that she feels peace knowing that R is being raised in a better situation than she could have. And Larry kind of co-signs that, like that she shouldn't have guilt over that. And I really do hope that that brings her peace or whatever, because, you know, having raised Jamal and they have a good relationship, she mentioned as being like the biggest accomplishment in her life. So, you know, all of these are positive things. I don't quite know what they have to do with single life, but here we are with it. And yeah, we're going to go watch her, like, you know, I guess talk to this short king in the UK. And they reference Usman, how like she, you know, dives in really early fast with like all of herself and gives too much. And maybe Jamal can sort of have like a buffer situation where like they don't do that as much because, you know, he's like there to be like, not yet, mom. But I don't know if that's going to happen because I don't know if Kimberly is like, she's not as sexually and or obsessed with Usman. I'm sorry, with this man as she was with Usman. Like we remember her, she was obsessed with Usman. Like loved his music, like somehow like had made the equation that like Michael Jackson had come through to her through Usman. Also, Usman had been on 90 Day Fiance before, so like she had watched and seen him in a way and how to ascertain like a certain amount of like attraction for him. And you know, by the time she got there, like she was going to let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. And you know, she basically has already told this new guy that he's too short and that's a medium flag. So like to me, that's already off. How tall was Usman? I don't think that Usman was that tall, but I guess taller than 5'6". Anyway, let's move on to our last person, and that is Vanya. Vanya of Vanya and Tony. So we are picking up on the night of hell, which is that she wanted to dance with her boo, and then he was like, absolutely not, I don't like to dance. And then when she tried to dance with someone else, he was like, can I dance? And he was like, you can dance if you want to, just kidding, do not dance. He was like, she's like, you ruined tonight. And he was like, what do you mean? I was having fun. And it was like, no, you weren't, Tony. You were literally like stumbling all over yourself and you asked her to leave. So then they bring up the fact that she's going to go to Croatia and Ibiza. And he basically is like, well, you're just going to dance with everyone there then. And it's like, yeah. But that then becomes like that she's going to cheat on him, which is hilarious only because haven't you been listening? Bitch is fucking celibate. You're not listening to this woman at all? Anyway, he says that at one point he's like, yeah, you know, Vanya's been single for a long time and I just, you know, don't know if she understands how to like compromise. And I'm like, buddy, is this the same person that's been also single for a long time, except that one time you got married for like 8 months, but then you broke up with that person? You said it was a lack of communication. Yeah, why don't you mansplain to us what it's like to be single for a long time and how it affects other people? Weirdo. So next scene is that it's like the day of her leaving or whatever. She's cutting like a fresh fruit plate. And this part looks great. There's like cherries. I love Rainier cherries. There's some peaches. She's cutting them like how a grandpa would, like in her hand, knife coming up. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's real confident with a knife. I just would never, I mean, it's like, I can't cut fruit like that. I think it's so interesting. Like, give me a wooden board, honey, and I'll make a to-do of it, but no. So then Tony comes over and they sit and eat the fruit and then they talk about, things. And she's like, "I'm sorry. Let's make sure that we never go to bed angry." And he's like, "Yes, I like that." The never going to bed angry thing is like just like a sentence people say, but it's funny. It's like not only did you go to bed angry, you like left a whole situation. She like left in an Uber and he was so surprised. When Vanya panics, she panics. I think she gets out of there fast. And you would think that like that would be like a Tony thing, but Tony like, really stood around. Tony's like, "I really care about Vanya." And I think that Tony probably isn't used to a woman wanting to be with him as much as Vanya is. So I do like the idea that like he thinks he is going to be the controlling, but like secretly his insecurity has been, like appeased by Vanya's absolute like dire need to be with him. And therefore he thinks that like at this point losing her might be bad business. She's like, we've even gotten to the point where we say "I love you" to each other. And it's like, well, then how come that hasn't been filmed? Then what are you doing filming anything? Why am I watching you cut peaches? If you've said "I love," like, why hasn't that been a conversation? And when did that happen? I don't know if these 90 Day Fiance producers are slipping, but like, it feels like they film them every 2 weeks. I don't know. So yeah, he brings her to the airport. She's gonna go have fun with her cousin. She's definitely gonna dance her balls off. I'm like, "Are you gonna do some drugs too? Like, are you gonna like, do some Molly or something?" And not Molly. I don't know what they call them now. um, Pure MDMA. What does she do in Ibiza? How do you stay up that long? Are you gonna do the old Josh and just like all night long? I don't know. Allegedly. So basically, that was the end of the episode. Quite a short episode. We didn't have any Liz, didn't have any Sophie. So we'll see what happens there, my lives. But thank you so much for listening. If you haven't yet, please give this a 5-star review episode. Super short, but that's not my fault. It's what they've given me. At the same time, follow me on all social medias. I'm at Chris Elfera on Instagram. I'm at Chris Elfera on TikTok. I have a Patreon, and I'm doing fun things there, including private lives, and Love in the Spectrum will exist only there. You can also join Vanity Fair, the private group on Facebook, and like my page, Chris Farah. And other than that, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I am leaving Miami tomorrow. But if you can tell, I've gotten tan, and hopefully I will have one more day tomorrow just to really lock it in. I'm gonna come back and I'm going to be, instead of just a person of color, I'll be a person of color. Anyway, weird joke. All right, my loves, let's breathe together and then let me go, honey, out to pasture. All right, 2 breaths. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being present with me. Thanks so much for listening to these stupid ass thoughts, all of it and more. So now I must tell you to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of other people. And, stand up for what you believe so that people will be inspired and people will live, hopefully, feeling seen or feeling better because of something that you do or something that you stand on. And make art. Make it whatever you can. Make some art. Make it loud. Make it strong. Make art of good things, not bad. You can make art of bad things, but hopefully there's like an outcome that speaks to a truth, because sometimes bad things happen. Make art of things that are happy, not sad. You can still make sad art though, at the same time, the human experience is the human experience. So this song really only has to do with singing a song. However, I'll do both. All right, babes. I'll talk to you later. Love you very much. Bye.